Good morning, welcome back to a new class. Today we'll be looking at depression. We'll actually understand happiness, what happiness is, through understanding depression. So, wouldn't you imagine we all, as a society, as humanity, we strive towards happiness. Happiness, we can classify it according to societal terms, as pleasure. Okay, we chase pleasure, but it's always fleeting. It's never permanent. It's not like peace where there's lasting peace. So we can sort of reclassify happiness as a lasting peace than pleasure. So there's a distinction between the two. And we always strive towards pleasure instead of lasting happiness. It's because we don't know how to achieve a state of happiness. And whenever we go towards pleasure, it's always momentarily. We always do things to make us happy, but they never seem to stay. It's always in time and always goes away very quick. There's one theory which states that when you remove all your miseries or all your sufferings, you come to a natural state, which is known as a peaceful, calm, happy state. That's how you achieve happiness. Instead of rushing, instead of constantly chasing pleasure, you'd rather remove all your miseries in life, then you would naturally achieve a state of happiness. So that's one way of looking at it. And looking at that model, we can go a little bit more deeper into one of the darkest human mental conditions, illnesses, as depression. And once we uncover depression, we can sort of see what takes us there and what helps us get out of it. Okay? So once we know that, then we can naturally be happy, right? We can naturally be in a peaceful state, a more emotionally calm mental state. We'll go through. It's actually quite interesting because there is no greater scientific discovery than actually discovering how to be happy, right? You can discover some star in the sky, or you can discover some new invention, but what is greater than actually uncovering the mysteries of happiness? Now, depression is classified as major depressive disorder, and it's a mental illness as well as a physical issue, which I'll explain. What happens in your physical body, the changes in your brain, the chemical dips and increases of certain hormones, is sort of a stage that is commonly coexistent with anxiety. Okay, so we have prolonged stress, and then anxiety as well, and anxiety that leads to depression commonly. There are other causes as well. There are other reasons that lead to depression as well. You have trauma, you have physical abuse, substance abuse as well, nutritional deficiencies, social isolation is huge. We're just covering the causes according to the medical scientific understanding of depression. So social isolation is a huge mental catalyst for depression. You have genetics and then inflammation. Inflammation, you can say, is a result of stress, right? Stress, anxiety creates inflammation in the brain. It's inflammation, prolonged inflammation, leads to depression, changes in the physical brain structure itself. And then you have some major events that happen in your life, moving places, changing environments, being kicked out of your home, etc. There's a lot of things that can cause environmental events that can cause depression. That can start off, it's like a seed, right? The seed gets sowed in your brain and it grows into a tree. So if there's any of these events that is planted as seeds, later on they can grow as trees, and before you know it, you're in a state where you feel you can't even get out of bed in the morning. This leads to brain functions changing. You have the brain over here. It's going to draw the brain. This is the brain stem. The prefrontal cortex shrinks. Okay, this becomes smaller. There's a hippocampus over here, which also becomes smaller. There's an amygdala over here, which becomes bigger. It becomes enlarged because amygdala is your fear center, as we discussed in anxiety earlier. You have a larger threat detector in your brain, essentially. When you have more and more stress and anxiety, to ensure survival, your brain's amygdala, which is your fear center, becomes greater, it becomes large, to ensure that you don't die. Then you have your prefrontal cortex, which is your logical thinking, your decision-making part of the brain, the front part, which is your rationality, and that drops. So the energy you get from decision-making, thinking, logical rationality, that becomes lower, it shrinks, which is why you can't really make decisions. You can't really learn, you can't really think your way out of depression because you don't really know how to comprehend positive thoughts. There is a physical reason why you can't force yourself out of depression. Then you have hippocampus, your emotional and your memory gets linked over there. Okay, your emotions and your memory gets linked there, and that becomes smaller, so it shrinks, which also leads to you forgetting your positive emotions. You forgetting what it's like to be happy, losing interest in things that you previously enjoyed. It's all part of your hippocampus shrinking. What makes you positive in the past sort of doesn't make you positive anymore. Loss of energy, loss of interest, these are the symptoms of depression. Lack of vitality, lack of glow on your face. You have persistent low mood. You can't get out of bed. You have appetite levels drop. Your digestion suffers. You become sluggish, cold, want to be like locked up in a room, away from light, away from the outside, be like in a cave, caged. You want to be in darkness more. All of this causes your serotonin, which is your mood regulation hormone, to drop. So serotonin drops, and then dopamine drops as well. Dopamine is your motivation and your happy hormone. These two, because of all of this inflammation, because of fear, stress, anxiety, constant, prolonged, like for a year, 2 years, a major event in your life triggered that, and that's grown. You experience these hormones that show your mood regulation, your happy hormones, they drop. Your cortisol increases. So your body becomes in a state of elevated, prolonged cortisol. And because of these two hormones, again, you can't sleep properly as well. So you don't have enough melatonin in your body. So you get lack of restorative sleep, which again disrupts your mood, and it becomes a vicious cycle, right? You get dark thoughts because of this, intrusive dark thoughts, feeling of unworthiness, okay? Feeling guilt, self-criticism, shame, rejection, rejecting the self. Rejection is actually a huge theme that we'll uncover that is a major catalyst for depression. This also leads to brain fog, which makes you, it's hard to concentrate, it's hard to focus. You have a lot of gloom in your brain. It's gloomy, it's cloudy, heavy, cold. That's your state. It's your natural state in depression. And there's also one thing, you lose your ability to become your brain to form new connections, new neurons, simply because BDNF, this is brain derived neurotrophic factor. Okay, it's important for neuroplasticity to form new connections, to build the brain essentially in a certain way. This becomes low, it drops, sometimes it stops. So your brain can't really adjust, mold, understand, feel, experience new things, comprehend and register those things that you experience from your environment. So no matter how much someone tells you something, no matter how much you read, no matter how much you do to help your depression, it's really hard to force yourself out of it. It's really difficult to overcome it because it's a constant fight with something that's not capable, that's not ready, it's not like the seeds that you grow inside infertile land. When you grow seeds inside, it doesn't germinate. It's the same thing with depression. Because BDNF, hippocampus, your prefrontal cortex are not suitable enough, they're not fertile enough to register new neurons and new capabilities, new synapses coming together. Because of the emotions in your environment, etc., they're not able to register that. You become paralyzed, sort of. Your brain becomes paralyzed to action, and hence it's difficult for someone to think their way out of depression. Extreme, in fact, you can think that negative thoughts from the environment, they are a trigger into going into depression. Pessimism is a trigger that can lead you to depression. A low self-esteem, perfectionism, a feeling like you're a burden on others can all lead to a depression, but those things can't get you out of it. Okay, thinking positive thoughts can't get you out of it because your brain shrinks. So all of this is a very concise, it's like a gist of understanding depression. There are many factors and many hormones, etc., involved in this condition. This is just a quick, concise summary of it, so you can get a good framework in your mind. What we'll do is we'll understand stories. I'll share a few stories with you from different cultures, and we'll pick out the themes from that and understand what it takes to come out of depression. Okay, so it's going to be very interesting. We're going to look into that. We're going to look into herbs. Herbs are a huge gateway. They're like portals that can pull you out into feeling good. Okay, so we'll look at herbs. We'll look at heart. So in ancient cultures, the heart was the center of your body. It's the center it was represented like the sun, fragment of the sun, where your organs evolve around the heart, and the heart pumps out blood, pumps out energy, sunshine, it's metaphorically sunshine, to your organs and to the entire body, entire solar system. Just like we have a sun in the solar system and it gives energy to all the planets. Same thing, we have a heart, which is the center of our body. It's much more important than the brain. Medical science and the scientific field only mainly look at the brain as the most important in depression, but we'll actually switch that and look at the heart, because the heart was considered as the most important organ according to ancient civilization. Because your brain is neuroplastic, and because your brain registers, again, as I discussed earlier, pessimism, you can sort of direct that if you haven't been diagnosed with depression, right? If you don't have those feelings of, let's say, oh, I don't really want to get out in the morning, I don't really want to get up out of the bed, do work, etc. Those are the first, in fact, signs that your mood is switching, okay? And that's a major indicator which should tell you to change the way you look at things in life before you go into the deep darkness of depression, the shadow of depression. So the ability to wake up in the morning and be energized for the day is a great indicator of your mood and of your health as well. Depression, not only does it have a huge impact on your brain and on your hormones, mood hormones, it has a major impact on your body. There's literally your entire body suffers from inflammation because of depression. So what we'll do is, understanding your brain is neuroplastic, before you go into depression, it's important that you change your thoughts from pessimism to optimism. So if you have any of these signs that you don't feel like getting up in the morning, you're not really looking forward for the day, you're becoming hopeless, those are huge indicators that you need to change the way you look at life, because soon enough you'll fall into prolonged anxiety and stress, hopelessness, and your prefrontal cortex and your hippocampus will start shrinking and you won't be able to get out after that. It becomes very difficult once you get in the darkness to come out of it. So this is just a sign that because everyone's brain is neuroplastic, feeding yourself good positive thoughts, having a goal in life, having something that aligns with your heart, hobbies, all of those things are crucial. Positive thoughts, the way you speak, self-hypnosis, where your words literally indicate how you feel inside. They are a replica. You literally say in the morning, I'm going to have a really good day. As soon as you wake up, you say, I'm going to have a really good day. You end up having a wonderful day, because your brain registers that and processes it. Your subconscious processes it. And then the subconscious is pretty much most of your life, right? You're acting out your subconscious mind most of your life. The active mind, the conscious mind, when you wake up, there's like a transition from the subconscious mind when you're sleeping to the conscious mind, right? When you're sleeping, you get dreams. They come from the subconscious mind. When you get up, you become conscious. Okay, so you're transitioning. And there's a small gateway between that when you speak something, when you think about something, when you feel something, that registers inside your subconscious mind, pans out onto your day and onto your life. So before going to bed and when you're waking up, those are two gateways, portals that we have that we don't really know as humans. We have those portals that can really that can really change the way our brain behaves and how we perceive reality. Reality itself is a reflection of your inner state. That's one thing I want you to keep in mind as we discuss this, that your reality is a reflection of your inner state. Now, coming back to the heart, as ancient civilizations uncovered that the heart was it was the king, it was the emperor of the entire body, right? If you don't have your heart, you literally die. Everybody, because love comes from the heart, you feel love. Everybody thought and everybody knew that the heart was the most important thing. Right? You feel your emotions. You know when something is good because it comes from your heart. So staying aligned with your heart, staying aligned with the sun, keeps you out of darkness. That's the theme of depression. And I'll uncover that with stories as we go through the class. So the heart's the most important thing. You have the sun, which was known as the sun's fragment. This is the heart, and then you have around it organs, and the heart shines and pumps out blood to the entire organs. If there is no sun, the body will become cold and it will perish if there's no blood supply. The sun, the same thing. It's the energy for all the planets and the center of the solar system. Okay. Now the heart has HRV, which is heart rate variability. So your heart, it goes like this, and it's very random, very random. So there is sort of like a pattern, but it's a variable. Okay, there is different. This might be 1 second. This might be 0.2 seconds. I'm just assuming. So there is this. This means high heart variability. When there is good amounts of variations in your heart rhythm, that means high heart variability. When there is low amounts of heart variation, when your heart is literally the same beat length, etc., rhythm, then that means a low HRV. Now, this is very important for you to understand because in depression, there is low HRV. What does that mean? Your body can't go into adapt into, your heart is rigid. It doesn't know how to adapt to stress and anxiety. When there's stress and anxiety in the environment, if your heart is flexible, which is high HRV, it's not rigid, it's not compact, it will be able to adapt to more stressors, which means lower levels of inflammation will be in your body because your body can adapt faster. And in the sun also actually has grand maximum and grand minimum. So grand solar maximum, grand solar minimum. This is low HRV, this is high HRV of the sun. The sun also has variations. You may not know this, but there are scientific discoveries that show that the sun has different like spots that change and that become the darkest spots become the darkest spots become smaller and larger. Sunspots, they're called. They become smaller and larger. There are variations in that. And the higher the solar maximum, the more light, the more energy, the more life there is on planet Earth. The lower the solar minimum, so grand minimum, there is agricultural stress, there is more freezing, the Earth is more colder if it is low HRV. So literally, if the sun gets depressed, which on a macro level, if you think about it, the sun is getting, if it becomes depressed, then the earth will become depressed. There won't be any life. It will be colder. The cycles will be shorter. The seasonal cycles will be shorter, and you won't be able to grow crops properly, etc. Dry, cold, and sluggish. That's what the earth will become. Same thing when you have a low heart variability. Same thing with depression. You become sluggish, right? You don't have enough energy being pumped out into your body. You become rigid, right? You don't have life within you, essentially. So this is the correlation between the sun and the heart. That's the beauty. Everything is connected. That's why I want you to keep in mind that when we talk about the heart in depression, a huge cause is a lack of light in your heart. It's a lack of alignment with your heart. Ancient civilizations, they knew the heart as the seat of the soul, where your mind, your spirit, and your physical body meet. So your mind, spirit, and body, they meet in the center, which is your heart. There's a feeling of alignment with the universe that comes out of your heart. When you're doing work, when you have goals, when you have ambition, when you have a balance, when you're striving for something that comes out of your heart, you feel more energized. It's one of the greatest ways to tell if you're on the right path or not. And a lot of children, or not children, sorry, but teenagers, adolescents, and young adults today's day and age, they have this huge issue with confusion on what path they should be on and what they should do, simply because there's an influx of information and decisions from the environment that we live in, such as social media, university, etc. You are sort of in a dilemma. You don't really know what decision to make in life. You don't really know what path to follow because you're so misaligned with thinking that everything comes from your environment. The truth is, the environment is a reflection of your inner state. The information that you get from your environment causes that paralyzation in you. So to overcome that, to know what's good for you, you need to follow your heart. Follow what makes you feel good, what makes you energized, your curiosity. Curiosity comes from your heart. We'll actually uncover this aspect, curiosity, because it's very important in depression. Curiosity comes from the heart. Inspiration comes from the heart. When you see something in your environment, you want to be like them, not from a materialistic point of view, but from a point of view that you're inspired by how they've shaped their mind and their body, how they've become as a human being. If that inspires you, if that aligns with your heart, that aligns with your heart. And when you follow that path, you keep uncovering new things. New bridges start opening up, new opportunities, new doors start opening up, new bridges start being built for you. And that's the beauty. If you follow your heart, you will never be depressed. That's one indicator. Those are the people who do the greatest things in their life, are the most creative, the most curious, who have an unorthodox life. They always start by following their heart first. They don't have any playbook, they don't have any blueprints, they don't have any environmental decisions that they have to make, choose a path because they have so many paths. They just follow their intuition. It's a very abstract way of thinking and going about life, but it's the best way. Because when you're aligned with your heart, and Viktor Franklin, who was a Holocaust survivor, he wrote a book on people who were in the Holocaust, going through people who died and people who lived and their mental states. He wrote Man's Search for Meaning, and he looked on our society and had a view that people with goals in their life, people with ambition, people with direction, passion for life, passion for giving, passion for creating, they all lived longer lives. They were much less depressed than the people who didn't have any direction, didn't have any goal, didn't have any path that they could be on. Your heart gives you direction when you have a purpose in life. Everything comes out of your heart. That's what I want you to keep in mind and understand. And I'll explain that through stories. This is one understanding. There are herbs as well, like St. John's wort, and I'll show you here. I'll just show you over here. There are herbs that we have. St. John's wort, and I'll write it down for you. So St. John's wort, a very effective and one of the most clinically researched herbs, one of the most effective herbs for depression. St. John, it literally works the same as most SSRIs, which are serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They are medications that help with depression, help with the release of serotonin in your brain, mood regulation, as well as saffron. Rhodiola, saffron, again, energy. Rhodiola is great for energy, and saffron is great for sleep, for mood, for energy. Also, there's a supplement called astaxanthin. It's a red kelp coral, sort of under the ocean reef supplement that you get. It gets derived from that, and it's red in color. Saffron is red in color. St. John's wort is yellow in color. Rhodiola is yellow in color. Okay, so if you look at the most effective, and these literally help with your brain, especially astaxanthin, and it helps with the brain development, BNDF factor. So directly it helps with that, and hence once you have that fixed in your brain, you can have an option and an opportunity for neuroplasticity. So astaxanthin supplementation, St. John's wort as a herb, saffron as a herb, and rhodiola as a herb. St. John's wort is highly interactive with almost all medications. You have to be very careful when you're on it, that you don't consume other medications. Saffron is great for mood, and you'll notice one thing between all these effective herbs / supplement is they all are the colors of the sun and the heart. This is the beauty of nature, that the most effective things will be the same color, the pigments. I'll show you a photo over here so you can have a look. So this is astaxanthin. As you can see, actively stimulates the release of BDNF. It's like a fertilizer required to regrow the shrunken hippocampus. And this just goes to show that good levels of lutein intake can help with, again, your vision. The zeaxanthin intake can help with your vision. Your vision is usually low in depression. What I mean by that is when you're constricted, when your body's constricted, when your body it lacks sight, you go out and you see a horizon. There's quite a bit of distance if you go out and see a horizon or an ocean, right? See the sky, see the clouds. But when you're indoors, you don't really see much. You're constricted within walls, the four walls that you're in a room, for example, and you're locked up, okay, like in a cave, etc. The sight becomes smaller because of that. The vision becomes smaller. When you have purpose in life, when you have alignment in life, your vision is longer, okay? Your threshold for pain, capability for pain becomes higher. You can bear lots of pain when you have purpose in life, like Viktor Franklin noticed in the Holocaust. I'll show you the herb. So this is St. John. As you can see, yellow and even like pink-red stems. And then again, yellow and red, as you can see, saffron. And rhodiola is also yellow. This is quite surprising because, again, this tells us that the most effective herbs are fragments of the sun, are the colors of the sun and the heart. Now we'll look at some stories from ancient cultures, Indian, Japanese, Greek. I'm going to share a lot of stories, and they will give you a framework to uncode and understand how to actually help depression. Because in society, when you understand things from a different aspect, from the opposite aspect, you get to know more about it. Like we discussed at the start, when you remove all your miseries, you can naturally become happy, right? It's the opposite of chasing happiness. So the first story is of Japanese, is of Amaterasu. Amaterasu, she was known as a sun goddess. And mind you, most of these stories are of sun gods. Sun goddess, or sun gods or sun goddesses. She saw her brother active crimes, destroying, being violent. Okay, that led to her going into depression. She moved into a cave. Okay, so let's draw a cave over here. She moved into a cave, and then she lived there for so many years. What happened was that the earth became cold and dry, lacked life, because the sun goddess herself literally went into depression, and the earth saw darkness. So the gods saw this, and the gods then tried to, there was like a seal over here in front of the cave. They tried to break it open, they tried to force it open, but they couldn't. And that goes to show that in depression, you can't really force yourself out of, you can't really use force of positive thoughts to get out of depression, okay? So the gods came, they tried to break the cave open for the light to come out, but it didn't help. There was another goddess called Uzma who started dancing, who started singing, who playing around. And these gods started laughing, like out of genuine laughter, like what she's doing. So there was laughter. And then what happened was our Amaterasu became curious. She became curious because these gods were laughing, having a good time. Curiosity, as we discussed earlier, is a theme. She became curious, and as soon as she went out, she peeked out of the cave. As soon as she went out, she was shown the mirror, a bronze mirror, a bronze metal, which is like a mirror, a reflection. And she saw her reflection, she saw her brightness, and that led to her awakening. The cave, coming out of the cave, she saw a self-reflection, which made her realize that she has great power. She is the sun goddess, and hence, after that, the earth came back to life because she came out of the cave. So this is one story. So there's themes of curiosity and reflection over here. And curiosity, again, comes from the heart. And then we have another story of the Odyssey. The Odyssey, or the Odysseus, written by Homer, who is a Greek philosopher, one of the greatest Greek philosophers. He wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. Odysseus is one of the characters. Odysseus, he is a king who has won the Trojan War. Okay, won Trojan War, one of the greatest wars in human history. It's a story written by Homer, who literally opened up a gateway for the Greek civilization to thrive. Okay, so Odysseus wins the Trojan War, but he goes into depression because he sees that he's killed so many people. The purpose of war was for justice, it was for family, but he realized that he was completely wrong. He violently killed so many people, which split his soul. So war split his soul, which gave him great grief, and it put him, he went 20 years. So the war actually lasted 10 years, and he went into self-reflection and down into depression for almost 20 years. So 20 years was his sort of exile. His journey of relieving his guilt, his shame, what he's done. He has a wife, Penelope, who doesn't know that Odysseus is either living or died. So she waits. She's literally waiting for almost 20 years for Odysseus to return home. So she's waiting, and she goes into her room, shuts her room, and she stays there in depression for almost 20 years. The fact that she can't mourn his death, and she's sort of hopeless as well that he's going to come back. There's a middle ground that she's in, and there's a dilemma that she's in, which is why, again, you have depression. And then you have Telemachus, who is the son of Odysseus. Okay, son. He's also overshadowed by his father's greatness. He doesn't have his own identity. He doesn't have power because, again, there is no sign of Odysseus helping Telemachus when he comes back. So hence he doesn't have hope, and he doesn't have the kingdom as well because he doesn't know how to be as great as his father. So these are three important people in the Odyssey, the book, and they're all in sort of depression. It's a story of depression. And you'll notice that these three characters, you can almost see them and metaphorically understand them as the mind, the body, and the soul. Okay, so the spirit, the mind, body, and spirit. Either way or other way, doesn't matter. Odysseus is the spirit, Telemachus is the mind, and Penelope is the body. There's paralysis, there is dilemma, there is lack of meaning, suffering, because there is a split in the family. The family is not together. There is a separation. When the family comes together, that's when they all come out of depression. And that's the beauty of the story. That's the beauty of the Odyssey. When the family comes together, when there's love, Penelope actually tests Odysseus. There's a love test that she does about a bed. That only Odysseus knows. And when Penelope finds out that he knows about her bed, then there is a union. Telemachus, he overcomes his depression through self-reflection when the father returns home. When there is a union of these three, union of family, meeting, there is love, which is the unifying force. Love comes from the heart. It's a unifying force. And this is a story of how your body comes out of depression. It's through love. It's through unity. It's through family. In your life, if you have depression, people in your life have a responsibility to take care of you. And you're not feeling guilty about them because they can only help you. Not being isolated, trying your best to be in the sun, doing whatever it takes to go out in the sun, go out, sit with the family. If the family is the cause of depression, trying to find home, trying to find a group of people or people around you that can really help you. As you can see in the first story as well, there was people that came to help. There's meeting of the family in this, so that there is a union of people that is a common theme in these stories. There's also another story of Sugriv. Sugriv, he is a monkey king who is the son of God, and he's got a brother, Vali, who steals his wife and his kingdom. Both get stolen because Vali is more stronger, more capable, more powerful. Sugriv gets rejected. He gets rejected, and Sugriv goes on top of a mountain, Rishimukha, and he goes into exile. Now, if you ever read the story of Ramayana and Ram has to kill Ravana, and Ram needs an army. Sugriv can provide that army. So the reason why Ram needs to kill Ravana is because he's kidnapped his wife Sita. Along the journey of going to Lanka, where Ravana stays, Ram meets a lot of people, like Hanuman, who's his greatest companion in the help of getting Sita out or killing Ravana in the end. So there's a lot of people that Ram meet along the way, along this journey, and he meets Sugriv, who is on top of a mountain, who's living life in depression and sorrow and apathy, in grief and paranoia, and he's just living around in a mountain where Ram and Hanuman come across him, and they help him bring back his light. He's literally the son of God, and he's lost his light, sort of. And divine intervention, Ram and Hanuman, they both help him get his kingdom back and his wife back by killing Vali. Okay, they kill Vali and he gets his kingdom back, and hence happily ever after that. So there's a divine intervention over here. So there is union. Again, people come and help. There's also a theme of rejection in the story. So Sugriv gets rejected by Vali, his brother, and hence he goes into depression. So there is rejection, and then there is union, people coming to help. Two things. There's also rejection in other stories. For example, Shani, who is the son of Surya, who is a sun god. So Surya in Hindu scriptures is the sun, and he has one of his child is Shani. Shani is dark. He's got a dark complexion. He's slow. He's cold. And Surya, who is the sun god, who is the sun, realizes that this child is not good, so he abandons him. Shani gets abandoned. There's rejection. Just because he doesn't like what Shani is, he's like a shadow. So Shani goes away and he becomes the planetary ruler of isolation, depression, sorrow, and restriction. In astrology, there is themes associated to Shani for that. So again, Surya rejects Shani, rejection. So all right, rejection over here. That's one of the major causes and catalysts of social isolation itself. The eye of Ra is related to the sun. Okay, Ra. Now, people in Egypt, they start believing that the sun's gone old, and they don't really have to follow him. They reject him. They reject his principles, etc. They ignore and rebel against the sun. The sun then, Ra, becomes very angry at this. Okay, so there's rejection from the population, become very angry at this. And he releases his eye of Ra, onto the earth, and it's the solar destructive energy. Now, the eye of Ra is actually personified as a feminine, scorching energy. She has two sides. She has two faces. Hathor, which is the life-giving sun, and Skemet, which is the scorching, plague-bringing sun. So when the people of Egypt start rejecting the sun, Ra sends Skemet to destroy the earth, okay? Punish those people, essentially. And then Skemet actually goes into a bloodthirsty trance, and she can't stop killing or destruction on earth and mankind. Because Skemet is bloodthirsty, what people of Egypt do, they basically make an entire pond of pomegranate juice or red beer, red wine, etc. Red liquid, it's a massive red liquid pond. And Skemet, when she drinks that, she becomes intoxicated and she goes to sleep. And her energy, which also has Hathor, which is the life-giving normal energy, it wakes up from that. This is also sort of similar to what we discussed earlier, story of Kali last week. Similar to that, right? There's intoxication of trance, blood, and then you wake up out of it. You go back to your natural state, which is the life-giving force. So that is the story of Ra. Again, there's rejection from society, and then there is offering. So they also offer myrrh, frankincense as a ritual, and they also dance for Ra. So there's an acceptance then. Acceptance when the society, mankind sees the destruction, they then finally accept and intoxicate, right? Offering red liquids. Again, red is the pigment color that we discussed earlier in the most herbs that are most effective with depression. So as you can see, red color. There's also other things like gold bhasma is used. Ghee. If you put a few drops of ghee in your nostrils, 2 drops, it's known as liquid gold. 2 drops of ghee. Again, we're talking about gold because it's the yellow pigment. Gold in Ayurveda is used, small amounts of gold particles, nanoparticles. They're actually nano, they're not like huge, nanoparticles to heal mental illnesses like depression. And same for liquid gold like ghee. Okay, ghee, if you put a few drops in your nostrils, it helps with lubrication of the cells in your brain, the neurons, etc. And that helps with healing and recovery from mental illnesses. And you also sleep. It helps with sleep, and hence it also helps with depression. So again, the pigment of yellow and red. As you can see, all these stories there is rejection, acceptance, curiosity, self-reflection, unity, and love. These are the themes that sort of follow the sun gods, sun goddesses, and society that has been in depression earlier. People that been in depression, they came out of it, how they come out of it. All of it is linked again to the heart. The heart is distorted. It's from the heart that you're curious in life. It's from the heart that you feel rejected by society. When society rejects you, your soul splits, your heart splits, your mind and your spirit and your body, they become imbalanced. Okay? They're not unified. And love, acceptance unifies them. Rejection, again, it's isolation. And isolation, it puts you away from other people around you. And people have to actually come. So one side, there is people who are good, okay, good, who bring out love in you, and then people who are bad, who put you in isolation because of rejection, okay? Curiosity and reflection, curiosity and self-reflection, all come from the good people in your life. They literally dictate your happiness and acceptance. And then there's family, love, and unity. And then there's hate. So this is what actually light and darkness, all depression, all what it is your heart losing its light. It's losing its power. It's feeling powerless. You're feeling hopeless, right? You're becoming rigid. The heart's literally becoming physically rigid because of the low HRV. So scientifically and metaphorically, esoterically, through stories, through herbs, you can actually understand what's going on. Nature itself, the natural world that we live in, what's going on, sorrow, misery. You find out all of this, the solution actually find out because there is darkness. You light a torch because there is darkness. Again, the torch is lit by the people who come and save you. So you need your doors to be open. In depression, you need your doors to be open. That's the one thing that you can do. And this is for the people as well who know that other people are in depression. As a society, it's our collective responsibility to help other people around us. Okay, it's a collective responsibility to spread love, to spread unity, to spread acceptance, and to not reject. Rejection is the major cause of depression. The more you get rejected in society, the more you get rejected for your ideas, for who you are, for your being, the more your heart becomes distorted. The more your heart becomes distorted, the more you move away from your heart, the more you lose purpose in life. And the more you lose direction and purpose, the more you have depressive, dark self criticism, self hate. Okay, the more you spend time in nature with the right people, the more oxytocin. In fact, oxytocin is one of the greatest anti-inflammatories in the body. I discuss oxytocin in every class because it's very important to ensure we have enough oxytocin being released. It shrinks amygdala, has the power to heal the heart tissues, which get destroyed by inflammation and darkness. The heart has lost its lights. It's in the shadow. It's in darkness. It's in the shadow. When the heart is shining, when there's enough light, when the heart is shining and there's enough light, it is out of darkness. It's out of disharmony. This is what I want you to understand, is what's more important in life is all of this. It's following your heart. It's curiosity. It's self-reflection. It's acceptance. It's family. It's unity. The way you behave like this, the more you behave like this, the more you're a good person, the more you bring light into people's life, the more you have a butterfly effect, the more people around you come out of depression. It's a flow-on effect of your energy. So all of this, just like the sun gives out energy to the moon, and the moon reflects its light onto the earth, so the earth is not in darkness. There is some sort of light when it's dark still. Obviously not on the full moon day, but as long as there's no prolonged darkness, that's the responsibility of the sun and the moon together. Throughout nature, there are parasites as well. There are people who are bad. There are insects, there are weeds, etc. that are not good for the environment, but they all coexist, right? There is more of good than there is of bad. In fact, the bad makes you understand and appreciate the good more. Darkness in your life helps you to appreciate a light. That's why when you're in depression, if someone reaches out to you for help, those people appreciate that even more. People who are depressed, they appreciate you reaching out for help with them. It gives them a sense of purpose, sense of belonging. That's why saying things like, can you help me out with this? Obviously, knowing their skills and mindset in place, that do they have the capability to help you? And then sort of meeting where they are and asking to their threshold for help gives them a sense of belonging, gives them a sense of purpose, right? And you can only do that. People who are depressed, they don't have, like I mentioned earlier, they don't have the thinking capabilities to understand, self-reflect, etc. Think positive. But as soon as you want to spend time with them, as soon as you want to ask them a favor, and they're ready and willing to do that, then there is a union. There is a union of love, sort of, time spent together, which, even though there is no advice given from your end to them, that time that is spent together is much more appreciated by the depressed person, by the person who is in darkness. They appreciate the light, which is you. If they're the earth and they're in prolonged darkness, they appreciate the moonlight, which you're emitting with your energy and your vibrancy of your heart. So we all work collectively together. There is a place for psychologists and psychiatrists. I'm not neglecting their responsibility and their work and their support for people who are suffering through mental illness. It's very important that depressed patients do get one-on-one support with professional help. It's very important any mental illness gets professional support. But with that, they also need the collective support of the good people around them. Obviously, the people who have rejected them, the people who have not accepted them, society, etc., there is a polarity, right? There is the good and the bad. If you know people and out of your willingness to help them, you are giving them hope. You're giving them hope. You're giving them light. You're making their heart vibrate. The more you can help them, the more they'll come out. They'll start reflecting themselves. The more your heart shines, it will make their heart shine as well. Even without communication, they will be in a much more better state than they were before. If you come out of a place and intention of genuine care and genuine time, energy spent instead of advice given, that is more of therapeutic, that's more healing towards them, which is non-verbal. right? It's non-verbal healing. That's it. And not being preachy and not being solution, like trying to be the solution provider, trying to be dominant. That's not what society, that's not what nature is. Again, everything in nature has its own rhythm. Everything in nature has its own vibration, energy. Everything coexists together. No one is trying to, with their ego, heal one another. The sun is not trying to be, oh, I'm the energy provider, so I can emit light. It doesn't work like that. The sun, the rose, the bird, the ocean, they're all there to just exist. And with their existence, with their time, with their energy, there is zero verbal communication, but everything's coexisting together. And that's the beauty of nature. That's what nature teaches us. If you just act out of love, if you just act in abundance, if you act in curiosity, if you act in union, help people, be in unison with nature, your heart will vibrate. That's the code to happiness, right? We all think about how can we achieve happiness, etc. Happiness is an illusion. You attain it by asking the right questions. What makes your heart sing? What makes you feel belonged? What makes you inspired? Who and what brings fulfillment to you? What, at the end of the day, when you go to bed, you've put your best effort in? What's that thing in your life that pulls out that best effort from you? Okay, so those are the questions that you should ask yourself. And as you go on your journey of uncovering who you are, by asking those questions, right, you'll keep opening up your heart. Okay, the more your heart is open, the more vibrant it is, and the more it shines. A lot of people notice that depressed patients will notice that if you're helping out of genuine intention, and you're not being preachy, they will notice that. And when they go home, their heart will actually notice it, and they'll start slowly self-reflecting. And that's the inner spark, right? They see a light in you, and that lights them. It's just like pearls. If one pearl gets lit up, all the other pearls around it will also lit up. You have a butterfly effect. The sun has an entire energy that is provided through the entire solar system. That's how powerful you are. And if you have the fragment of that in your heart, which the ancient cultures believed, imagine how powerful you are. Just breathing, just existence itself. We think we own our body, we think we own our thoughts, etc. We think we own things, but we actually don't. We get provided it. Everything is provided to us. Nature helps us breathe. The heart beats because of the food that we eat. And nothing is ours, actually. It's provided. If you become a provider as well, if you emit your energies naturally by being who you are, aligning with your heart, the more people around you will also see that. And they would want to be the same. They'll get inspired. One last thing I want to leave you with is we think as humans we're in isolation, right? We think because science, social structures of our society, we have been programmed to believe that you should achieve on your own, you should have success on your own, leave other people behind. There's one chemical that is in your brain that needs a pharmaceutical medicine to get fixed. Everything is in sort of isolation, but nature doesn't work like that. Everything's in unison. The birds literally provide phosphorus and nitrates to the farming fields for the food to grow. There is a wild animal hierarchy, right? The snakes eat the rats, the eagles eat the snakes, etc. There's an entire hierarchy of the animal kingdom. Everybody has its own place. There is no one that is insignificant. Because there is no isolation, there is no insignificance. Everybody has a purpose. The sun has a purpose. The moon has a purpose. There is a unifying force that is vibrating throughout the entire planet, and that is love, essentially. So if you act in love and not in fear, fear is isolating. When you act in fear, you want to be scarce. You want to be, that's mine, these are my thoughts, etc. You want to put a stamp on everything. That's acting in fear, so no one takes away what you have. But the truth is, you don't have anything. The truth is, the air that you breathe, the trees that are there, they're there for you. Nature is living for you. Without nature, you won't exist, right? And same with that, without you, nature won't exist. The moon and the earth need to be there for the sun to exist. This is a hard concept to grasp. But once you understand this, that as much as we need nature, nature needs us too. It's not a one-way love, or it's not a one-way communication. It's a process of exchange that happens throughout our entire solar system. Everything has a purpose. Everything wakes up for a reason in the morning. And that's what I want you to inculcate as you go on this journey of understanding happiness, of understanding peace. Goal and good people. These are the two great powers that will make your heart sing. So go on this journey, understand because this entire nature is working for us. It wants us to live. You may find this very weird that I'm saying this, but once you go into the depths of understanding how love works, right, and how love, as I'm explaining, is throughout nature, everything in nature is existing so you can live. There is food grown, there is air, there is the sky, there is the ocean, there's water. Everything, the ocean creatures, in fact, they themselves, the fish, the dolphins, the sharks, everything is working in nature to make everything live, to make you live. So imagine how important you are to nature. And that's the question I'll leave you with. Your importance is as significant as the sun's energy being transmitted into the entire solar system. I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next session, which will be on eczema.